One of my wife's specials. Apparently I'm putting weight on, not losing weight. So she's now making me things like this. Tastes alright though. So the start of vlog 7, I thought one of the videos I would show today is the valve seat cutter being used. So this is my Provalve valve seat cutter. I bought this in lockdown 1. It's a Turkish machine. The company to deal with has been fantastic. I really like the machine. There's a few things I'm still getting used to, a few things that I need to speak to Provalve about that I just need some help with. But if I show you the machine first. So the first thing is the bed is all airflow. So you press this foot trigger there, and then if you can see, this will all move really easy, just slides around on air. And then on the computer part up here, there's a lock, work table lock, which then creates a vacuum and pulls the bed down, so it locks it on. There's 2 spheres up in there which allow it to float, and then the pilot goes in here, and then this is the cutter and one of the cutter holders. It comes with a toolkit. In the toolkit it comes with the display tray, so you can keep all the pilots in size order, all the tool holders, and then in here you've got just different tools for setting the angle on the valve. Little box with all the cutters in, a level, and then different tool holders. So that's if you was doing a deep seat in a cylinder head. That's a Morse taper attachment, so if you wanted to drill something out, you could set it all up on there. And that there's a spirit level for when you're setting the machine up at the start. So the head that I'm gonna do is a mini cylinder head that come in. It had been to a garage and had a valve replaced. It had burnt an exhaust valve out, and one of these had been replaced, but they couldn't get compression up on it. So I've stripped the valves out of it, I've taken the stem seals out of it, all the parts are in the wash. So the next thing is to put it on the machine and show you the setup and the seat cutting procedure. So once the head's on the headstand, just have a look underneath to make sure that the valves are not touching the machine. Make sure the clamps are down nice and tight. Then undo these locking pins, spin the cylinder head over like that. Then these are tungsten carbide pilots, so they're really strong. They're also all marked with the size. This one I know fits this. So I'm going to start by putting that into the valve guide hole, and then it comes with a little bubble that sits on the pilot for leveling the machine up. So I'll make sure that the bed's in the centre of the machine. And then if we nip this one up here, that locks that, but that allows the adjustment on this here. So then just find the perfect centre of the valve guide. Like that. And then lock the machine up. Still checking that the centre hasn't moved. And then the next thing to do is to plot where the seat is going to cut. So I undo the lock for the head of the machine. Just give that a tap to extract it. Then the pilot that we're going to use locks into the tool holder like that. Next thing to do is to work out what blade holder we're going to use, and then that slides into there, and that's the blade. So the first thing to do is change the blade, because that's a really wide cut on that. So that's just a little Torx head. Take the blade out, and then there's all different ones in here, so put that back where it goes and pick the one that we need, which is that one there. And make sure everything's clean, make sure there's no dirt or debris behind the cutter. And the next thing to do is to get one of the valves that we're going to use. The first seats we're cutting are the exhaust valves. So the exhaust valves are always the smaller ones on this cylinder head. So this is exhaust, which is now level, and this is inlet. So I'll quickly grab one of the valves. And what we're looking to do is to find this angle. So with this tool here, I just bring it down and then level the pointer up with where I want to cut the seat. So this is just a road engine, so it doesn't need to be right to the very tip of the valve, just somewhere towards the top of the valve. And then once we've done that, I then replicate that onto the cutter. And then what's good about this is you just use the Allen key to bring the cutter out. So the cutter that's in here is a 3-angle cutter. It has a top angle, the seating angle, and a bottom angle. So we're after the top of the middle angle, which is just about there. It's worth taking the time and making sure that's absolutely bang on. And then nip up the 2 locking screws. That locks this to this. And then just double check you where you want to be on the angle. So that's spot on. The next thing to do is to refit the tool cutter. And then start to line up the guide with the cylinder head. So I float it around until I can just feel the valve guide. Which is there. And then bring the cutter down so it's just off the valve seat. Then lock the bed. There's a screw here that locks the column down into the cylinder head. And then on the worksheet, you press the automatic centering button, which is here. And then all the air system works and moves the cylinder head and the machine around. So it finds the center of the guide. That's the compressor cut in. Then it does the lock the working table. But what I'll do is I'll unlock that and then just recenter it again so you can see it. So that's all locked now. So now what you could do is start the spindle and cut the seat, but what I always do is then just quickly just open up the sphere and the cylinder just for a few seconds and then lock them. This here is the speed for the spindle, so I turn that down to start, switch the spindle on, and then with the speed here that will start that cutting. And just up here it shows you the RPM and the load on the motor. So then you just release the clamp that holds the boring head down, which is there, and then very carefully feed the machine down by hand just until it cuts the seat. Seat's cut. Then you can just move it along. Bring the pilot down, move the bed again, clamp the work head. It's on here now, so I can do it a bit faster. Trying to hog that and do that's a nightmare. Then do the automatic centering. And just bring the sphere and cylinder down again. Spindle speed. So that's half of the seats done so far. So what I'll do now is just carry on and then flick it over. So I'll carry on with that and then switch it back on and show you the inlets. Well, all the exhaust seats are now cut. So I've also faced the valves. It's got one new valve in it, what I showed you earlier. Another good feature of this machine is this vacuum report here. You can put customers' details in, save the data if you want to, put it down to intake and exhaust port and valve. But how this works is it creates a vacuum on this pad. You place the pad on the port like that, and if it goes into the green, it's okay. So I'll just show you that. Switch the back test on, and then place the pad on the port, and then it goes up into the green, and then you can save the data. So if I put it on that one again, what I can do is call that exhaust, save the test, and then it puts it up here. But if I fill this part in, engine, client, operator, you can have all the information, and then switch the pump off, move over to the next port, switch the pump back on, and then again test it. If it gets into the green, it's okay. So then once again save the test, and it saves it as seat number 2 or port number 2. The next thing I've got to do with this is just face all the inlet valves, grind them in, clean the head face up and give it a wash, and rebuild it, and that's another one good to go. So I'll show you facing the inlet valves. Now these are the inlet valves. I'm using the Comec Valve 516 machine. This will go down to a 4mm stem, this machine, and these valves are a 5mm stem. Feed the valve onto the wheel, keeping this moving all the time so it wears the wheel evenly. That valve's got ever such a slight little bend to it, but it's cleaned up good. The first few I did quite slow just to show you, but you can rattle through these once you've set the machine. So I've refaced all the valves, all the inlet valves and the exhaust, but the inlets I've just done. I don't need to cut the seats on the inlet, it didn't come in for that job. But what I'm going to do just to make sure is just grind them all in. So bit of carborundum paste all over the seat of the valve, and then the old trusty grinding in stick, and then I'll just put a little bit of spray on the seat just to help the paste bed in. Once you get used to doing this, you can feel the actual seat when it is seating perfectly. Which is about now. So once it's ground in, just check to see that this grey line from the paste goes all the way around the valve, so you know that the valve is seated into the seat. And once you've done that, it's a case of just checking to make sure the seat has got the same grey line around it, which it has. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but you can see the old seat's quite shiny. You can see the grey line around that inlet seat. So I'll quickly just do all the other seats, and then give the head face a quick clean down, and then chuck it in the wash for an hour, and then build it again. The valves are all ground and cut in now. I've cleaned the head face up, so now it's just a case of trying to wash all the old carbonised oil up and dirty oil. So I'm going to put it in the hot tank for an hour or so while I get on with another job, and then get that built. One job that I thought I'd show you is a friend's Renault Clio Williams F7R engine, with knife edged and balanced the crank, forged rods, Woosner pistons. I've gapped all the rings for it. I've not showed any of this job being done because it's been here for a long time. In all fairness, it's been a bit of an ongoing project, but I've got to get it done now. The customer's waiting for it. So one job that I thought I would show you is what I do to virtually every oil pump in anything quite modified, and that is to take the pump apart, check all the tolerances inside the pump. I never just assume that the pump's right because it's brand new, and I always port the pumps as well, so the oil ways, I deburr them, make sure it matches the block perfectly, and check inside where that flows to see if there's any burrs in there. So the first thing to do is just strip the oil pickup pipe off it and the main part of the pump. So this is the pump body, this is the oil strainer, so that's the oil pickup and strainer in one. That's the drive for the pump, so that turns the gears. because this is a Group A pump, what Dan, my customer's bought for it, there's a good chance that this might already be modified. I don't know, but we'll check it. No, it's not straight away. So the oil would come up here and it feeds through here, but as you can see, there's some little burrs in there, so I can go and get rid of those. Take these gears out. In fact, it's dirty in there, and this is a brand new pump and it's got dirt already in there. So really it's a good job we stripped this and had a look. Oh, also, yeah, it's really bad. I don't know if you can see in there, but that's the oil feed for the engine, and the casting is all halfway over the hole. So why they call this a Group A, I don't know. Maybe it's to do with the oil pressure valve. They might have put a different spring in there or something to up the oil pressure. But I mean, even that is a bit dirty in there. So that's the oil pressure valve. It's all scuffed up. So probably a good idea of stripping this and checking it. But yeah, I'll clean this up and I'll show you what it's like once I've cleaned inside there and there. I've now got rid of all the edges and ported that as best as I can. So in there it's got a nice round edge now, all cleaned up. So that will help the flow, definitely. Should help with things like temperature, oil temperature, but definitely flow. Same in there, I've cleaned up all the run into the back of the pump. I've tidied out all there. There was a bit of dirt in there actually, so that's all gone now. So now it's a case of putting the pump back together. It's been through the cleaner for a couple of hours. So yeah, that's that. When whoever makes these pumps build them, they always build them dry, which that's normally a big problem when you're trying to get oil pressure up to the engine on a new engine. It doesn't have the vacuum in it to create the oil into the back of the pump. So when I put these back together, everything goes in wet with build lube, which then creates the vacuum to help pull the oil up. So once again, just making sure everything goes in there really clean, and then just making sure everything turns nice also. And then with the build lube, I'll just put it in between all the gears, so you can actually, once you put the other part of the gear in the pump, you can see it all moving around. Helps lubricate the body on startup as well, body of the pump, so it doesn't allow any of the metal to clip and probably pull bits of aluminium off it. Just clean it all off. You don't want any on the top edge when it seals. Clean it up in a sec. The next part to put in is this gear. So this is the drive for the oil pump. So once again, a bit of oil around it, and then on the shaft of the drive as well. And then when you turn it, you can see the oil all squidged in between. So now I know the pump is filled up like this. I know that when he tries to get oil pressure up, that's already creating a vacuum to pull the oil from the sump. And just clean all that face up there, because that bit really ought to be dry. The next thing is to put some oil down this bore here. This is the oil pressure relief valve. Once again, it's built dry. Make sure everything's cleaned. So the idea of this is this sits in here and slides up and down only a little bit with the oil. So the oil pressure is built up in the pump, and when it gets to this set amount through the spring, this can just slide up and diverts the oil. Just make sure everything moves nice. And you'll see the valve work its way to the bottom like that. So now the valve is sat on its seat, you can see it in there. It's just a case of pushing that down, the spring and the retainer, to get the clip back in. There we are. So that's done. So what I'll do now is, as I'm building the engine and I've fitted the pump back onto the top of the engine, I'll then backfeed the pump with running in oil. So when the engine's upside down, I'll put oil in here, which will then run through here and start to backfill the oil pump. And then it's a case of just bolting that back on there. And then the other important thing with this is not to over tighten these bolts. They need to be tight, but you don't need to swing on them. There we are, that's all ported, built, and you can hear, now it's sealed up, you can hear the oil moving around. The last job I've got to do to this is I'll just engrave it to know that I've been in there and ported it, and then fit it to the engine. So yeah, that is a ported oil pump. I just thought I'd show you the mini head that I've finished, what I cut the seats on the Provalve. This is it all back together. It's got this really tricky mechanism up here for the cam followers. That there's a nightmare to get back together, but there is a way to do it. If anybody is struggling to put one of those back together, if they just drop a comment in this vlog, I'll post a video of how I do it. That's it, it's all built up, ready to go. Hopefully the customer will be happy with that. I'm in my engine build room today, assembling the Williams Clio engine and the Nissan SR20 engine. The bottom end's all done on that now, apart from the pickup pipe, the girdle and the sump tray. While I've been doing these, I've had a courier drop an engine in for another YouTube channel. What we've got to do some cleaning and machining on, and then he's coming to do some filming as well, so that's pretty cool. It's a 4-cylinder BMW block, flywheel, cylinder head, crankshaft. They've got to go in the acid first to try and get all that oil off, so I'll put them on in a minute. I can see that the crank needs a grind straight away, so I'm gonna have to speak to him about that. Feels like it needs a rebore, so yeah, that should be quite cool. We'll be filming doing that, and he'll be filming it to put on his YouTube channel as well. So yeah, that's it. I'll carry on building, and I'll film some more this afternoon. I just thought I'd show this job. This is it's a cylinder head of some, I don't know what. People say aluminium doesn't warp, or some people ask me and tell me aluminium doesn't warp, so I thought I'd show this one. I've taken 0.6 of an inch off this already, and as you can see, it's skimming there, it's missing all the way along there, and it's skimming there. So let's see how much it needs to come off it. So that was quite a heavy cut. That's now 9 thou, and yeah, I mean, you can see it. It's pretty bad. Go again. Still there. We're now on 15 thou. So that's on the dial up there. I will measure it at the end to check. That's it. Final cut now. Well, we're still on Saturday, and I promised to film warts and all. So today hasn't been completely successful. 2 cars that was, well, one was racing and one was on the rollers, have both had issues. Luckily, none to do with me and Grace Engine Developments, but either way, I thought I'd share the fails as well as the successes. So Richie, who races in the pickup truck championship, he has called me to say that in qualifying the dry sump belt has snapped. So how that's happened, we're not quite sure yet, but he's taken the engine out today, ready to drop off Monday. And then a friend of mine, Jan, who we built a Subaru engine for, was on the rolling road today. Everything was going amazing. The engine was boosting from 1200 RPM less than his old engine. The torque figures was good. The guy on the dyno was really happy with it. And then the engine stopped. So Jan's phoned me up. I've gone straight over to his workshop to have a look why it's failed. It's a timing belt related problem, but I'll show you what it is. I'll have to spin this around. So Jan bought some aftermarket pulleys for it, which are fantastic. They're good quality. When I balanced the crankshaft assembly, it was really good. But as you can see with these marks here, this is the Kevlar timing belt, which the original Subaru front pulley is, if I can hold that vernier there, is that much bigger. Can you see that on the camera? So basically the lug on the original Subaru is 72mm. This one is 62mm. What's happened is the timing belt has run up onto this radius and then run, so you can just see that blue line. It's run up to there, jumped a tooth, stalled the engine. So what I'm going to do to repair it is machine along here and then make a wider locating washer. So I'll record that and see how we go from there. The other job that I mentioned in the week, or last week in the week, was Jan's Subaru engine that I built, where I don't remember if I actually said what had failed on it or not, but anyway, what had failed on it was the timing belt had ridden up this pulley. I mean, if you can see the inner step, that's the original diameter of the pulley. This aluminium thing I've made here, you can see the two shades of alley. So I've turned down the original pulley, made this washer, and then glued and pressed it on, and then just faced it again. That's the size of the original pulley. So what happened was the belt on this part here had just ridden up, and it's caused it to bend a couple of valves. So Jan took the engine out yesterday, and here it is ready for me to strip and repair. So I will I'll show you this in bits and show you what went wrong and how we're going to fix that for Jan as well. So yeah, this is a Subaru rally engine. So me, Sam and Diesel have just been on a little road trip to collect a new works van from a good friend of mine, Si Hayes, that he owns a company, CGL Leisure, who builds the best campers and leisure vehicles you can buy. I mean, check his website out. The guy's amazing. The quality of his builds is something else. So this was his work van that I built an engine for, and he offered it to me because he needs the space really. It was one of the vans that I just couldn't say no to. So Sam's behind me in that at the moment. Diesel's my passenger. Yeah, so thanks to Si and Zoe for letting me get the van. I'll give you a bit of a tour around it. So Sam's got back with the van, but I'll show you around that in a minute because this is just turned up. So me and Metal Mickey are going out in it. Woohoo! Fucking hell, too fat to get in the back. Right, let's go, Mickey.
Got to find some gears first.
Rev counter on her, boy. Yeah. Got good oil pressure. Almost seems too quick, mate.
You ready?
Ready? Let's do it. I can't get the window down.
It's a race car, we didn't have windows.
Oh, that's it, she's going down. Red light, red light. Oh no, car park. kill meat.
Yeah, I'll take it. How much you want for it?
40 quid. Oh, I can't get out of it, Mickey. It was quite lively. Quick. Goes alright. Touch slip's bad, but.
Oh, okay, mate. On the main podium, you're in the thingy.
Supercharged crossflow. So this is the caddy van. It's got CGL fit out in the back. It's all been Linexed in the back, compartments and everything. How's that work, Sam? Oh, that and that. Oh. They come out. Oh, then it's got that little drawer there, hasn't it? Oh, that's for the slide out for the bikes. What weight that'll take? Not a lot. Oh, the seats are nice, aren't they? All built by Si and his team. It's got a Grace Engine Developments engine in it. 400 horsepower, 500 foot-pound of torque. Big brakes, proper suspension, quaif diff. Yeah, quite happy with that. I'm having that instead of your green breakfast juice, wifey. Look at that. I promise my diet starts again tomorrow. Not the green juice. Just come with it, it's just your nightmare. I'm gonna eat my bun, I don't want to eat your fucking green juice. I've got this, it's sausage. Not on. Turn it off.
Let's have a look at it. What's so special about that?
Posh sausage, egg, posh sausage, burger sauce, salt.
Do you want some green juice?
Come on.
Are you sure?